In this video, I'm going to be learning some Python, so let's get started. So I'm in Replit right now, but let's just get started. The first thing we have is the print function, which just prints things for us. So in this case, I have a string, which is in quotation marks, hello. So this will print hello. Next thing we have is the string. Now, a string is anything in quotation marks, single quotes or double quotes. In Python, it's your choice which one. And I can assign this to a variable, which will do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright. Now this is a string filled with some numbers. Now if we run it, x is now, this string is stored in x. So this is mainly a storage thing. And now we can do some things with this string. So first thing we can do is, so we can do x.split. And we want to split it with a space, and I'll show you what happens here. So it's stored now, so we need to print x. Alright. Now what happens here is we have a list filled with some strings in it. So we have x is stored in we have a group of, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is a string. We split it with a space, and then the x.split creates a list of strings. So that's what that does. Now moving on, we can do basic arithmetic with Python. So 1 plus 1 will give us 2, obviously. That's just common sense. 1 times 1 with the asterisk will give us 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 minus 1 will give us 0, obviously. And then we have division in Python. So division is a little bit different than other languages. So 4 divided by 2 is going to give you 2.0, which is a floating point in Python. But that's caps lock. But if we do print 4 and then we have 2 division signs, it's going to give us 2. And this is called integer division. Also, the thing I'm using here is quotes. So if you just, or not quotes, it's comments. So if you just want to comment on your code, you can do the number symbol and it'll just do that. So for integer division, 2 will give us that value. Now let's say we want to do print 5 integer division 2. That'll give us 2 because 2 goes into 5 2 times with a remainder of 1, but this will just ignore the remainder. Now we can also do 5 this, and this will give us the remainder. This is called a Modulus Operator, and this gives us the remainder when we do it in Python. Now let's say you want to raise 2 to the power 2. We want to do 2 squared. It's pretty easy in Python, so you just do 2 asterisks and it'll give you 2 squared, which is just 4, obviously. And let's say you want to give us 2 to the 10. Raised to the 10th power, we get 1024, which is 2 to the 10th power. Now, let's do some more variable arithmetic with variables. So we're going to assign x to 2, and we're assign y to 4. Alright, so now x and y hold these values. Now, with this, we can do x plus y, and x plus y will give us 2 plus 4, which is 6. We can also print x times y, which will give us 2 times 4, which is 8. We can print x divided by y, which is going to give us a floating point. The answer, which is 0.5. 2 divided by 4 is 0.5. And we can also do some integer division, which will give us an integer, 0, ignoring the remainder. Now, when we've done all that, let's move on to some other things we can do. So we can do print abs 2 minus 3. Now, we get 1. Now, basically what this does is abs is the absolute value. The absolute value of 2 minus 3 is 1. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Absolute value of negative 1 is 1. So that's what that does, absolute value. Now, we can also use min, and this will basically give us the minimum of 2 values. So in this case, I have 2 and 3. The smaller one is 2, so it's going to print out 2. And we can do the same thing with max, if you guessed it. Which should return 3, which is the larger of 2 and 3. So that's what that's going to return. It's running. And yeah, it returned 3. Alright. So that's with all the maxings. Now let's assign some things to variables. So we can do x equals max or 5. And we can do y is equal to min 34. Alright. So now that's going to be stored. And now we can do a print x plus y, which gives us 8. So basically right here, it takes the larger of the 2, which is 5, takes the smaller of the 2, which is 3. 5 plus 3 is 8, so the answer is going to give an output of 8. Obviously. We can also do some things with absolute values. So let's say I want absolute value of 2 minus 11, and then I assign d the absolute value of 22 minus 32, and then I do print, I'm going to subtract this time, and minus d. So this will just take the absolute value of each value and then subtract them, which will give us -1. Now, we have another type of data storing value, which is called a list. So we're going to set x is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we can store strings inside lists with separated by comma. We're going to store some integers. So this assigns x to the list holding 1 to 5 consecutive integers. And now it's stored. But the whole point of lists is to store stuff and then take it out when you need it. So we can obviously change the lists by doing x.append. If I do x.append 21, and I do print x, we're getting a new list with 21 at the end. So x.append adds a 21 to the list, which holds consecutive integers 1 through 5, but now we have a 21 at the end instead of just that. Now let's do another one. I'm going to do y. This time we're going to do something different. So we're going to do a dot pop. And what the dot pop does is, as you can see, it uses the index. So in case you didn't know, Python counting starts with 0. So the third index would be 0, 1, 2, and 3. So the third index would be removing 0. And dot pop removes stuff from the list. So, and now we just need to print y to get our new list. So as you can see, the third index was removed. So in this case, the first index would be 2, the second would be 1, the third would be 0. So that removes it. And like if you were to do like, if someone wants to do like 4, it would error out because it's asking for the index. So always make sure you remember that that's supposed to be 3. Alright, there we go. Now, let's do another thing here. We're going to do assign n to 2, and we're going to do print str. Alright. So what this does is it turns whatever you put in the parentheses into a string type. So now 2 is a string type. As you can see, turned into a string type. And if you do the same thing with print float n, it'll convert n to a floating point. N is 2, so we get 2.0. This is part 1 of Python. Hopefully this video is helpful, and yeah.